Hello, hello. Hey friends, I'm going to give a few minutes for people to jump on. It looks like, okay, all right, I think I'm here. I'm going to give people a couple minutes to jump on. I'm doing this from my Facebook page, so that way people outside the group can still get a chance to learn what I'm talking today. So I'm going to go ahead and share this, make sure people know that it's happening. How do I share this? Want to make sure I'm live in the group. I'm using a different kind of sharing component. Oh, I have one viewer, so it must be working. Whoever's watching, are you watching this from my page or are you watching this from my group? Because I need to make sure that this is showing up in my group. Okay, yes, it is live here. Perfect. Okay, so I'm Jessie De Silva, as you guys know, but for those who might be new, I know we had a ton of new members join the group recently, so I wanted to give myself an introduction. So I go by the Psychic Money Coach on Instagram, and I wish I knew how to share this. I don't know what I'm doing, honestly. I think Facebook has changed since I last did this. Anyway, okay, you know what? Forget about it. So I'm Jessie De Silva. I go by the Psychic Money Coach on Instagram, and I call myself that because I am a whiz at basically like tapping into your gifts, into your intuition, and then using my own to guide you to the place where you need to be in your business. And so in doing that, it's a combination of mindset, strategy, and and it's also intuition, awakening your spiritual gifts. So today I'm talking about sales. So I'm talking about we are talking about authentic, aligned, balanced sales, because a lot of times we sit here and it feels like, you know, I'm just joining here so I can make sure if people comment, I see. Okay. So a lot of times, like with what happens with sales is that we get really nervous because it's like, it feels really scary because we have this image of like a used car salesman, and that's like not how we want to be, and that's what we imagine as sales. Or we think about like, you know, what's that movie? It's like the coffee is for closers, that whole thing. It generally feels really icky. Or like maybe you're like me, you either came out of MLMs or you've had a ton of friends who have MLMs, and you feel like, you know, you live in fear of like the "hey girl" message. Like, "Hey girl, let me tell you about this product." That's what we tend to associate when it comes to sales. But I'm here to say that that's not sales. Sales is about building relationships. And like for those of you who are familiar with human design, I'm a projector, so like I'm not somebody who's great at like selling things A, I don't believe in, or B, to people who don't want it. So that's not what I teach people to do. Instead, I teach people to sell from a place of authenticity that feels good, that feels empowering. That's what I do. So that's what we are talking about today. And we're talking about that, and we're going to talk about basically like I'm going to also talk to you a bit about the program that I have I'm announcing right now today. So it's called Unstuck, and it's all about getting you off the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. So a lot of times we feel in entrepreneurship, it's like this, like our income, our motivation, you know, everything, our faith in ourselves, it tends to either be really high or really low. And it takes a long time to like find that middle ground of stability, because we tend to think that naturally where we want to be is in the high, but we don't, because living in the high is what burns us out in the long term. So we need to not live in the high, not live in the low. We need to find the middle ground that we can live on and like prosper in. So that's what it's all about. So we're getting off the roller coaster of income, because like, you know, a lot of times, and I'm going to talk a bit about my story, which is that, you know, I came from a place where I was the girl who I made 30K in 2 weeks. I was making 10K cash months. Like, it was incredible for like few months, and then it crashed, and then I turned around and made 30K in 3 days. And it's like, it was one of those things where it's like, I was living in this place of like not, I was living in this place of like, you know, fear, because I was constantly like up and down and up and down. And I needed to find what I had wanted was stability. It's like I wanted wealth and abundance at a sustainable level. I wanted it to be consistent. I wouldn't want to live in fear every month. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs are, especially because so many of us, being spiritual, like being the spiritual people that we are, we think like, okay, all I need to do is like continue to unblock or address my things, confront my shit, and so then I'm going to be able to just like stay in this beautiful high vibe place and like, you know, get that momentum rolling. And that's not the goal. The goal is that we want to feel like grounded and stable, but at a wealthy point, so that the money is consistently coming in and we don't have to worry about running out of it. Or if like, you know, financial tests come up, or we do have moments where like funds are getting low, we don't freak out, we don't panic. We can continue maintaining our momentum without it totally sidelining us and us feeling like really sorry for ourselves, like unable to get off the couch and stop watching Netflix. So that's been my journey. My journey has been like, how can I stop going from like, you know, 0 and 30, like 0 and 30K, 0 and 30K, like getting away from this model and into something where it's like a consistent, steady stream of income. That is the entire goal. So that's what I'm talking about tonight. And that's what my program Unstuck, the business or the abundance catalyst, is all about. So that's what I want to talk about. So how can we get more in alignment when it comes to our sales? So how can we address those 3 things of mindset, intuition, and strategy? So the first thing I want to talk about is like mindset. Sales, a lot of times we don't want to do it because either we've had bad experiences with it, we've seen people do it poorly, or we have like the wrong idea of what it is. So just like I said, sales is all about, like sales is literally just all about building relationships, because you want to think about it, and I'm stealing this from Melina Moreno, who's my friend and a fellow entrepreneur. Melina has this saying where she says with Facebook ads, it's like going out to a bar. Like if you go and you're trying to like woo somebody, like you're going out looking for a partner, and you walk up to somebody and you just say, I want to get out of here, they're going to find it creepy. You know, there needs to be like time to build up the flirting, the rapport, in order to then like, you know, make that jump. We can't just like go in balls to the wall, like, here's my junk, do you like it or not? Like we want to like entice people. So that's how sales are. I don't like it. I have never told anybody to send a cold message. I very much do not like that model, and being a projector, it's just not in alignment for me. That's a bit different than saying an energetic invitation, though. Like if you have somebody who keeps following you, keeps interacting with your content, or they don't, and you just see them in your analytics and all the time, then that might be more of an energetic invitation for you to like, you know, move on. So with mindset, what we really need to focus on is like, why are you feeling this way, and what are you making it mean about yourself? Because like, honestly, like the biggest thing that holds us back when it comes to sales is being afraid to sell. And that's usually because we have this idea of what sales is supposed to be like, and it's supposed to be sleazy, and it's supposed to be like us convincing people to buy things they don't want. And that's not what sales is. Where actually sales is about creating a relationship with somebody who does want to invest in you. And I think that that's something people forget all the time when we talk about ideal clients. Our ideal clients want to pay us. Like that's part of why they're the ideal client. So when you go into sales thinking like, oh, I have to talk them into this, you're not going in with the right energy. You're going in with the energy of like low value. Like what I do is not that great, and I have to like persuade people or convince them to invest in me. And that's not what it's about. This is about seeing if somebody's a fit for you. Sales is about building the relationship so you benefit from it as well. Like that's really what it's about. I just want to say that if anybody's leaving comments, I cannot see them for whatever reason. So just stick around. I'll answer them afterwards. So anyway, you want to think about the fear, the way, like, what am I most afraid of happening? And I think that that's a big part of it, because a lot of times we're worried about somebody having a really adverse reaction to us, like fuck you and your stuff sucks, right? Like that's what we're afraid of. But generally, like if you're selling to a captive audience, or you're selling to the people who like admire you and they want what you're selling, then why would you need to have that worry? So I like to say that there are honestly like financial traumas from our lives growing up that we need to address in order to become better entrepreneurs. So a good one with selling is like think back to like any kind of what could have been like big or small, like trauma in selling. So for example, for me, my selling traumas were, you know, being in the Girl Scouts and like having to sell Girl Scout cookies. Another one was like any kind of school fundraiser. Like I never got beyond like the very basics, things like that. And the difference is that when I look back at that memory as an adult, and I look back at like the cookie sales and like the fundraisers, I look back and I see like, okay, the reason I didn't do well was because like I was the oldest of 4 kids. Both my parents worked full time. My mother worked, my dad often worked overtime. My mom usually worked 2 jobs. Who was going to take me around to like, you know, do anything? So I look at that situation now as an adult and I see where like I see where the issue is. I see that it wasn't about me. It was really the fact that like nobody had any time to help me with this. But being a child, like all I see, like you don't know, like kids don't think in nuance, they think in black and white. So you have to go back and think about that time, like from the mindset of whatever age you were at that time. And when I think back to that, I remember that like, you know, I didn't understand that like other people coming in and winning these prizes or like, you know, asking for more boxes to sell, that it was because their parents were around all the time. Their parents had plenty of time after school and on the weekends to take them around to different neighborhoods, to like, you know, sit outside the grocery store with the Girl Scout cookies. Or maybe the parents were taking order forms to work with them, to like sell them for their kids, like at the office. I didn't have that. So as a kid, I was sitting there thinking all these other kids are in the same boat as I am when it comes to selling like these Girl Scout cookies, these magazines, whatever, and they're doing it better than I am. Whereas now as an adult, I understand that it was just an issue of like the availability of my parents, and that's okay. But I have to go back, like the way we address that, the way we heal it, is we bring that financial trauma to the front of our mind. And we think about like, what would I have needed in that moment to believe now that I'm really good at sales? Like what would I have, because like what did I make it mean back then? And what did I need to like not have that experience, rather to have a strengthening and empowering experience? And the best way you can reprogram this is just like free writing or free speaking. So either recording a voice memo into your phone or just like free writing into a journal, that kind of thing. That's going to kind of put you in a meditative state. So it allows you to essentially create a new memory. So when you describe in detail like what you wish would have happened or what you wanted to happen, what's happening is that your brain really can't tell the difference between a real memory and a fake memory. It's why like a bad dream can have just as much of an impact on us as a bad experience, because if it's vivid enough, yeah, our brain recognizes it as exactly the same. It's the same kind of thing. So you want to reprogram that financial trauma of selling that like makes you think that you're a bad salesperson today. The other thing is that you need to find people who are doing sales in a way that you admire. So like maybe they're super honest, maybe they just like, you know, don't hawk things at you. Maybe they're like totally fine with you saying no. You need to find your sales superheroes that show you there's a different way to sell to sell your offers, and that you can find success that way. I'm happy to be one of those for you because I don't send any cold emails. Give me a second, gotta catch up. So that's where we need to come from when it's about mindset. As far as your intuition goes, this comes to, there can be like a little bit of a disconnect between like intuition and fear, right? Because sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to do that, that's not right for me. And sometimes it's like because it's not in alignment, and then there are times where we're like, I don't want to do that because it's scary and I don't really want to try that. So how do we deter how do we discern intuition from fear, like limiting, saying no and yes to things out of fear versus saying no and yes to things out of knowing that this is something that's not in alignment or it is in alignment, that kind of thing. So you basically, like, are you making a decision, like when it comes to like investing in things? So I'll say, like, are you investing in this because you think it's a magic bullet or a magic solution or something that will all of a sudden make you valid, right? Like if you're looking for a magic answer, then that's an automatic no. You should not be investing in that, because you're investing from a place of insecurity. And like when you're investing from a place of insecurity, what you're essentially doing is you're just like, I'm not capable of doing this. I'm not capable of having this, but maybe if I do this program or maybe if I work with this person, it will. And that probably sounds pretty risky since I am like a business coach, but I'm not a magic bullet either. And I'm not a miracle worker. Like I can lead you to like your, like the incredible wealth and abundance, but you have to do the walking, right? So that's how you have to look at it. When it comes to, you know, if you're deciding to invest or invest time, money, energy, whatever, it has to be from a place of, I would do this, like I want to do this because I know it's necessary for the next evolution of my soul, for my business, whatever. So I like to think about that. And I've talked about, like, you know, your highest self meditation. This is something that I do all the time, where it's like I will sit in meditation, and you can, you know, whatever meditation looks like for you, whether it's like walking outside in the woods in a quiet area, or whether it's like sitting in your bedroom with your eyes closed and meditating to some music, whether it's taking a bath, whether it's a candle flame meditation where you're staring at the candle flame, whatever it is, when you're in a meditative state, imagine your highest self. And who's your highest self? They're the version of you that doesn't have any of the insecurities or fear right now. And they have everything that you want, everything that you're calling in. So, you know, if you're calling in like a successful business, or you're calling in fame, or you're calling in like a really cool artsy wardrobe, or like a new hair color, whatever it is, like you want to imagine the absolute best, badass, coolest version of yourself, right? So imagine them, make them as real as possible. So imagine how they dress, how they wear their hair, how they speak to other people. Imagine them in different scenarios. So like at an intimate dinner with friends, imagine them going to like, you know, a really fancy high-end party with like, you know, all your heroes. How do they interact there? And when they feel super vivid and like super real, imagine them physically standing in front of you, like where you are right now, whether you're doing the flame meditation or sitting down and like closing your eyes and meditating, or you're in the bath. Imagine them standing in front of you, and then ask them, where am I staying small? And where do I need to grow? Because your highest self always has the answers. And the reason is because they live inside you already. The future version of you, the most successful version of you, they're already in there. They're already there. And so you can actually make them, bring them to life. And it's like the difference between, like, Beyonce's amazing, right? But even Beyonce has Sasha Fierce. And so this is your Sasha Fierce. It's like you want to bring her to life and ask, what would Sasha Fierce do? You know, and I'm sure Beyonce feels that way about Sasha Fierce. It's like, yeah, that's like my bad bitch alter ego, and that's what this is about. So you want to be making decisions from, like, you know, Sasha Fierce. I mean, we're Beyonce all the time, but, like, you know, that's what I mean about, like, embodying things. When you want, like, and that's a little bit of the mindset and a little bit of the intuition. You have to embody the things you want before you have them. So if what you're craving is like a calm business, if you're craving working fewer hours, if you're craving making sales easier, like having bigger sales and less work, then you have to create it now. Raise your prices. That's a great first starting point. You can also, like, put a cap on how many hours a day you're working. Like, decide that you cut yourself off at like 5, 7, I don't care if it's 3 p.m. Like, a colleague of mine she works from like 6 a.m. and then she stops at like noon, and that's it. She just works for 6 hours every day, and she spends the rest of the day hanging out with her son. So it's like you have to decide to, like, give yourself the business you want right now. Because part of what's happening when we're on that roller coaster is that we are seeking to get these, like, really high-end sales because, like, we don't have the self-worth inside of ourselves that we need to make it. So a lot of times what the universe will do is the universe will get this idea that like you're trying to attach your worth to money, or you're trying to attach your worth to your client's success, or you're trying to attach your worth to being notoriety. Yes. Oh, Clara says, thank you. Showed this to my friend I messaged about. You're so fun and talented and smart. Oh, thank you. So you have to think about the things that you already want from your business and like, oh, no, the universe. So the universe will get this idea that like, you know, oh, she's attaching her worth to something that's like not like, you know, the sheer fact of her existence. And so it'll withhold it from you because it's going to be like, I'm not giving you the body you want. I'm not giving you the clients. I'm not giving you the money. I'm not giving you any of that until you realize that you're worthy without it. And that's why it's important to embody what you want now. Like you have, like, I realized that like a while ago, this was before I even started making money in my business, I asked myself, what would it mean if I had a successful business? What does a successful business look like to me? And I said it was independence from an office, independence from strict business hours or like hours that didn't work for me because I'm not a morning person. Like I do better with a slow morning, and then I need like I hit my high at like 3 p.m. So it's like I know what my natural energy levels are like. I wouldn't have a boss, and I realized that before I even made any money in my business, I already had that. Like I was already on my own. I was struggling, but I was still on it, and I was like, oh man, I have a successful business. And that's exactly what I want you to think. And the other part of that too is like, how are you getting closer to that version of your higher self? So like something I did was like, I went through my closet and I was like, would my highest self wear any of this? And if it's a no, out it goes, because we're taking the steps to get to that higher self. So that's the mindset, that's the intuition. Now we're going to get into the strategies. So the strategies of selling. And granted, I'm talking about this from a coach's perspective, but it has to be a mix of strategies, because you'll see a lot of people talk about like, oh, you need a Facebook group and you need to like post in groups and blah, blah, blah. But remember, for me, sales is about relationships and it's service. We build relationships by meeting people where they're at. So yes, you can have a Facebook group, but that's not going to be a magic seller either. Especially if your group, if you're not posting consistently in your group, or you're not serving in your group, then people aren't going to want to hang out there. And you also have to think about like, you know, how many groups are people in? Bajillions. So like, what benefit are they getting by being in your group? That's the thing, is that we're all a little selfish. We all want to be in places and do things because we want like a specific, like we want to have like this like specific feeling or these specific results. But what we need to be doing is that we need to provide service, because that builds that like trust factor. When people see that you know what you're talking about and you give it without any kind of pitch, without any kind of like selling to you right after, you're just going to give the advice and walk away, that builds so much trust. It builds like, and it builds trust. And you've heard it before, but everybody says you have to like, people need to know, like, and trust you before they invest in you. And so how can you do this? So I say, like, think about your ideal client and think about the groups that they hang out in. And when I think about groups, it's not just like searching for groups like this that they might be in. It's also looking at, I'm also looking at what kind of podcasts are they listening to? What kind of books are they reading? A lot of times those kind of self-help books and podcasts have a community based around it. Or if not that, then maybe an author. So I go directly to those groups or to those pages on Instagram, and I look at the questions people are asking and I answer them. I don't give them a pitch. I don't tell them. I might say, like, I'm a business coach. I'm a psychic business coach. Here's my take on it. But I'm not turning around and then, like, pitching to them unless they ask me. So if anything, I will tell them that I have a group where I provide like free advice. That's the extent that I'll go to for that, because again, it's about building relationships, not necessarily with that one individual person, but with anybody who reads that comment, because the people read that comment and they're like, wow, somebody who is like a coach who specializes in this just straight up gave some free advice and like didn't even sell them. That's cool. I'm going to go follow them. Maybe they have other good stuff on their profile. And so that's the other thing. So it's like going to people where they are. The other thing is that like if you have a Facebook community already, or like, you know, a decent amount of followers on Instagram, a good network on Facebook, your ideal clients are not interacting with your content. And I know that sounds ridiculous because you're like, well, if they love me, like, wouldn't they be like liking all my stuff and commenting on everything? Sometimes yes, but a lot of times like your ideal client is like too busy, too like, you know, too shy, too like preoccupied to really do anything, which is why you need to be comfortable with outreach. And I don't mean like, you know, I'm not talking about like the cold message, the hey girl, I have this thing, what about yada yada. I'm talking about outreach in the sense of like, hi, how are you? Like really getting to know the people who who are like watching your stuff and interacting with people you're friends with who you may not be like super close to, interacting with your followers, whatever, you know, like just send them a message and get to know them and see how they're doing and like build it from there, because naturally people are going to ask you about your expertise because it's part of like a polite conversation, right? Like, how are you? Like, what are you doing? That kind of thing. So tell them, like, talk a bit about your business, but don't talk about it in a way that you're selling. But if you're able to help them, that's when you can say like, actually, you know, I would definitely be able to help you with that if you're interested. Here you go. Here's a link to like book a call with me, or a place where you can get like a freebie from me or something. So, you know, something like that, like understanding that like sales it's about building the relationship. We're not walking into a bar and being like, want to get the fuck out of here. We're walking in and being like, hey, what do you drink? Like, you know, do you live here? What's good? That kind of thing. We have to like, you know, court people a little bit when we're there. The other thing you can do is like, you know, talking about referrals. So it's like former clients or like friends and family. Maybe they're not ready to work with you, but they might know somebody who is. And so like thinking about things like that. So strategy with sales, finally, like when it comes to booking, when it comes to discovery calls, like, wait, am I jumping ahead? I might be. So I am actually gonna consult some notes because I feel like it would be really important. I want to make sure I'm hitting all the juicy stuff. So, yeah. All right, yeah. So when it comes to like selling, when it comes to sales, there are some basics that like you need to like make sure it's like check mark, right? Make sure you talk about your offers, like talk about what you do, talk about what's available, because we have this tendency a lot of times to not post about it on our personal accounts or post about it anywhere. And we just assume people know, and they don't. Like, you have to talk about your offers and you have to talk about them relentlessly. Like, not everybody sees every post. Like, not everybody sees every post. So, like, you have to make sure that you're posting about it multiple times. So it's like, because you never know who, like, needs to hear it or who's going to hear it in a different way or at a different time where they're going to be like, oh my God, yes. You know, the other thing is, like, always including links to book for people. A lot, like, you'll see a lot of people who say, like, DM me for information. No. You can say link in bio or DM me, but like it can never be exclusively DM me, because nobody wants to do that. A lot of times people are a little shy about investing in you, period. And so by having an anonymous link where they can just like go and book a call, whether that's a free discovery call or whether that's like a reading or a one-on-one session, giving them that ability to just like jump off and go click that link, that's going to make all the difference for them. And finally, like, the other thing is, like, you know, you need to follow up with people. All of us are just as guilty as, like, you know, potential clients who have ghosted on us, or like, you know, and we tend to get like sour about it. And we're just like, oh, fuck that person. Oh, they ghosted on me. Fuck them. What's wrong with them? That's rude. And like, that's not what it's about. Like, a lot of times people forget. A lot of times no actually means not yet, not right now. Like in sales, obviously consent is a different thing. But the fortune is in the follow-up. If somebody's like, you know, if they ghost you and you're just like, hey, just wanted to follow up, it's totally fine if you're not interested in working one-on-one. Like, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing, you know, whatever. Sometimes they might be down for a single one-on-one session. You can always say, like, let's start with that and see how you like it. And if you like it, we'll apply the total of that to the package, you know, like coming up with solutions for people. But follow-up shows you care. It shows you care about people. It doesn't actually show that you're sleazy. It doesn't make you a nag or annoying. It makes you like caring and loving. You know, you also like, another way to make things really simple is like creating a sales page. So it's like if you have a signature program that's like a one-on-one thing, or you have a group program, or even just like a typical kind of reading, and you create a page for it where people can like go read a little bit about it and then book it there, that's also a great option as well. So it's like, because this is all about like balancing our energy. We want to make sure we're doing lots of different things to see what works, see what doesn't, to make money as easily as possible. Because it doesn't, if you can make big months but your energy is always up here, then that's not a solution. We want to try a lot of things so we can live in our zone of genius and ride that middle ground of like momentum and sustainability, right? Because if we burn it, if we're like up here all the time, we're going to burn out, and then we're out of commission for like 2 weeks. So, you know, that's a great option, is like a sales page, making it really easy. And then when you're posting it over and over again every time you talk about it, you know, that's a big, then people become like more excited about like wanting to check it out, or they, you know, want to book it. The other thing is like, you know, going live. And I won't say that you have to do it all the time. You can, and you definitely don't have to do it as long as I have. I've been talking for like 30 minutes. 10 minutes is fine. 5 minutes is fine. Definitely start small and just think about like, you know, a little bit is better than nothing. And just going on and giving some advice or talking about your offers, like just allow people to basically get into your energy, to see what it's like, what your personality is like, what your voice is like, how fast you talk. People want to hear that stuff before they decide to invest in someone. And then that gives you another opportunity for you to basically like provide like touch points for them to get to know you, and like links. Like you can basically drop links in that for people to go book with you. You also want to make sure that you have diverse offers. So yes, we want like the big package where like everybody spends tons of money on us. Of course, that's like the best goal. But small little things like those help too. Like I like to say, how do you get to $10,000? $1 at a time. So if you can sell something really small, like for example, you know, I've done a flash sale in the past where I did like, you know, day 1 is 22, day 2 is 33, day 4 is 44, day 5 is 55, like on the same thing where it's scaling every day. A flash sale like that, I made $1,000 from that. And that was 4 days. 4 days, $1,000 in 4 days. I didn't book a single discovery call for any of them. So less energetic output, more money. And then when you do something like that, you can pitch people at the end of every call, pitch them on working on one-on-one with you, pitch them on your group programs, because you have a captive audience. And that's how you have to think about those smaller offers, is like, yes, they allow you to live in service and to like give people opportunities to work with you who don't have this kind of money yet. But what it also does is it gets you, it's lead generation for you. Small ticket offers, that's lead generation. So now you get to pitch them, you get to work with them. And then if you were able to sell like, you know, I say this all the time to my clients, like if you held a small workshop, $88, 3 days, and 20, like let's say 10 people sign up, and one of them books a one-on-one package with you, that's a huge success. Like you've made a huge turnout just from like something really small like that. So I like to have small offers because A, they add up, and B, they're just like amazing lead generation. And then finally, like you want to make sure you're giving people FOMO. So when you're giving people FOMO, it's just like you want to make sure that there's a deadline, like this offer ends at such and such day. Or you want to say like, you know, book now and you can get this other free thing from me, you know, or you want to give like some kind of incentive to booking with you, like booking early, like, you know, if you're launching a program, whether it's one-on-one or a group program, have an early bird pricing. Early bird is like, you know, this amount for this, that kind of thing. So think about it that way. And then finally, I want to talk a bit about sales calls. So there's a formula that you should follow, and this is the formula I use all the time, and I like, it's got my close rate. I think I'm at about like 90% for closing. So first thing is you want to do when you start a sales conversation is to just say like, like outline the conversation. Hey, how are you? I'm so excited to talk to you today. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you some questions, and then like based on what you tell me, I'll talk about what I have available, and if it's a good fit, we'll talk money. How does that sound? Like that's usually how I do it. Oh, something just popped into my head, and then did I lose it? Oh yeah. Okay. Another thing is like for your discovery calls, screen your leads. So I like to have on all of my discovery calls, I have a form that people have to fill out in order to book the appointment. And one of the things I do is I say my price right there. I say packages start at X. Can you afford this? Yes or no? And it doesn't mean that I don't meet with people who say no, because sometimes people say no and what they mean is I'm not sure I want to spend that kind of money on this. In that case, like, you know, you never know. But it gives me a good idea of like what kind of energy I need to go in with that. If they're like, yes, I can afford it, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. Like we can have like a really frank, open conversation. If they're saying no, I'm like, okay, I might downsell them on something else, but maybe they're looking to see like for down the line on like what kind of coaches are out there, who they want to work with. So always screen your leads, because that's going to save you a lot of energy as well, even though you're still going to ask them a lot of these same questions, right? So the next thing, like, so once you outline the convo, the next thing is you want to like find their pain points. So, like what are you struggling with that made you reach out to me? Because that's going to tell you like what they're dealing with right now that they are going to need immediate results on. Then ask them like what they want. So basically like what are you hoping to gain from working together? What are your goals? What is the transformation you want to see on the other side of working with a coach? Basically get that. And then when you get that question, you want to then ask like what they need, which is different than what they want. And so you're going to ask like what would make all the difference for you? Is it accountability? Is it knowledge? Is it support? Blah, 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 that kind of thing. Because what people want and what they need are not always the same thing. And you want to make sure that you're covering all the bases. And then finally, like, you know, you want to make sure like that you're mentioning like, you know, I only have X number of spots open, like create that FOMO again. I only have X number of spots open, or I'm raising my rates at the end of the month, or whatever it is. Like have that FOMO ready. And then finally, like talk about what it would be like if they were to work with you. And you can say, I like to just say like, are you interested in hearing what it would be like to work with me? And then you're not going to give them active coaching or like anything like that. But instead what you're going to say is, you know, first I would look at this, then I would do this with you, and then I would do this. Like really outline exactly what you want to do. So for example, you know, I would say like, first we're going to do like my greatest fear reading spread, because I want to know like what you perceive your fears as versus like what they're actually manifesting as. And like once we do that, then we can move into like creating your offers from a place of abundance or something. Like then we're going to do that. And then like, so you see, I'm talking about what's involved without talking about like giving them active coaching advice. And then finally, like invite them. If it feels good, if it feels in alignment, say, you know, I think your energy is really beautiful. I've loved this conversation. Are you interested in working together? I'd love to officially invite you to like be a client or like to join this program. Once you have that, like, and that it makes them feel special. So like you always want to invite them. And then you want to make sure you always get a yes or a no on the call. Always get a yes or no. If somebody's saying, I need to think about it, then just ask like, you know, is there anything that you have questions on? Are you clear on everything? You know, oh, is there anything holding you back from saying yes? And that's not pushy. That's you inviting somebody into an opportunity to be coached by you. That's really what it is. And you know what? If it's a no, it's fine. Like I always say, like I'd rather get a no than someone say, oh, I'll think about it and get back to you, and then never hear from them again. Because that's when we like fall into that like weird cycle of like, oh, I'm just like, I'm not great, or they didn't think I was awesome, or whatever. So get your definitive yes or no. And then like, you know, let them go. So then you end the call. And if it's a no, that's totally fine. If somebody's really insisting, I just like gotta think about it, blah, 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 I'm not sure. First of all, it's probably a no and they just don't want to say it, which like I've called people out on that before. I'm like, you can tell me no, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Like if it's a no, just go. And they're like, no, I need to look at my budget. That's a big one. Okay, I need to look at my budget, make sure I can swing it, whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, let's book a call for 2 days from now or a week from now, and like, let's get on the phone and talk about it. So you don't want to like let that person go without either A, yes or a no, a very, very strong A, or B, a call set up to talk again. So this is how we end up saving our energy. And you can create automation systems around this. So, you know, in Acuity, Calendly, or, you know, you can get more complex. There's like Kajabi and Dubsabo. You can set up like automatic client messaging. So they can remind people about their discovery calls coming up. They can automatically send emails like a week after, like following up. What did you think? I'm so excited to hear back from you, whatever. You know, like you can basically set things to automate like that. And so again, we're putting less energy into these things to hopefully get like, you know, more output back out from it. So now that we've talked about all of that, I like the next video, since this is a series, this is just like day one of a three-part series. So today's Tuesday. On Thursday, I'm going to be talking about like how to grow your cold market and how to tap into your warm market, the right ways to use them, and like, you know, how to find clients from those places. So definitely more strategy heavy. So now I want to know, like based on all of you guys, like what is a win that you got from this? If you took any new strategies from this, booked any new clients, I want you to post in the group and tell me all about it so we can all celebrate you. And on that note, I am going to pimp out my program, my Unstuck, the Abundance Catalyst. It is 2 months. It's starting November. It's going to be November, December, so we're closing out the year. And it's all about getting you off of that like entrepreneurial roller coaster of highs and lows in both income, motivation, self-trust, all of that. So it's going to be really incredible. We have 4 incredible guest speakers. You've got me the rest of the time guiding you through your fears, supporting you, giving you all the coaching advice that you could need, like hot seat coaching. The details are posted here in the link in the description of this video. I will also pop it in the comments. So on that note, I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, and I will be back on Thursday. Have a good one. Bye.